program ini telah dimulai pada bulan Desember tahun lalu dengan kerjasama Pejabat Menteri Kesehatan untuk menyediakan 29 menggariskan aktiviti-aktiviti atau program-program yang dilakukan untuk membangunkan sosioekonomi Indonesia melalui kerajaan Malaysia dan saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Tuan Charles dan rakan-rakannya untuk berjaya menyediakan program atau satu rancangan yang merangkumi semua aspek yang diperlukan oleh masyarakat India. Untuk mengetahui India ini sudah jelas kepada kemajuan aliran negara selama 10 tahun. Kalau kita lihat masyarakat ini tidak punya satu rancangan yang sesuai untuk memajukan atau membangunkan sosioekonomi kaum ini. Jadi saya harap dengan Kerajaan Pakatan Harapan dengan rancangan ini dalam rancangan 2017 kita akan dapat melakukan beberapa perkara yang boleh membangunkan sosioekonomi kaum ini. Orang yang terlibat dalam sosial ini adalah Dr. Ansho dari akademik dan dari industri, dia wanita ramai tuan-tuan surat dan berhasil rancangan ini dibuat dengan 50 jam dan 53 dengan sebuah section yang diharapkan akan membawa kemajuan bagi masyarakat. Jadi kita bersama bagi Yayasan Al-Tizam Malaysia, saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada semua yang terlibat dan mengharapkan kerajaan akan beri perhatian serius kepada kerajaan. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Selamat pagi dan selamat datang untuk sesi media pagi. Tujuan untuk mengadakan sesi media langsung untuk membincangkan beberapa pandangan juga beberapa solusi untuk mengatasi masalah masyarakat kita yang boleh dirangkumi di bawah rancangan Malaysia 2017. Sebelum saya mencoba menuju pandangan ini, kita masih tunggu kedatangan antara Parlimen Perkhidmatan Laut berbilang official dari studio ada mesyuarat terkait dengan Sabah. So this is the way of continuing. But for that, can I ask the next speaker?
I'm Dr. Policy Bharat from Monash University. So I'm an academician with 17 years of experience. And I was very much involved with the education tourism since the beginning of the great organization. I'm Dr. Chitra Yuri from the Educational Welfare and Research Foundation. I'm the General Secretary. Currently a retired officer.
Okay, I'm Matkar Mahathir. I'm the President of Malaysian Indian Economic Transformation (MIET), and also currently a professor at UKM GSP, teaching masters. And I was very much involved in the discussion. I hope all the proposals from us will be accepted and will be part of the coming plan.
So sekali lagi selamat datang untuk sesi media ini. Let me just give a background on the plan here. I'm sure you have this document in front of you. No? let me give you a background about these five pillars and the action plan. The entire document is about 40 pages. Document slogan itu adalah dilakukan waktu dan 40 pages have already been submitted to the Kementerian Economy. It's already been submitted to the Economy. And how did we come up with the 40 different ideas? We had consultation involving lebih kurang 200 wakil dari masyarakat. Kita tempat satu untuk golongan belia, satu untuk golongan wanita, dan satu untuk memimpin NGO, akademia, business dan sebagainya. Dan the last one we had to put forward the recommendation untuk mendapat sokongan dari masyarakat keseluruhan. So kita ada empat dan all of this involve something like about 200 people, lebih kurang 200 orang. Dan selepas 200 orang itu kita juga telah berjumpa dengan pensyarah-pensyarah ahli akademik di Islamic University untuk mendapat pandangan mereka juga. Mereka juga seperti Datuk Dr. Mahiran Nair dan juga Prof. Shanta bersama-sama kita dalam beberapa sesi ini. Dan kita berjumpa mereka selepas itu untuk merangka satu plan yang kita percaya akan mengatasi masalah masyarakat India di Malaysia. So this give you a perspective of the problem that we have, or the problem that we have. Sebenarnya beberapa minggu lalu kita dapati bahawa ada beberapa underworld, leaders of the underworld were shot dead, right? If you had gone to the funeral, thousands and thousands of young people have come from there, attended the funeral, thousands. But also at the same time, community leaders, academic leaders have done a lot for the community. At the most you can find the revolving number, going to house, paying respect, not more than 1,000 people. But when it comes to the underworld, the number of young people who are involved in these groups is huge, running to thousands. Therein lies the problem of the community. And one of the problems that we have is the high levels of the power, and the level of gangs is not only in terms of masyarakat, tetapi juga di sekolah-sekolah kebangsaan, dan juga sekolah-sekolah lain. So this is a serious problem that we have. It is a manifestation, satu manifestasi masyarakat, masalah di kalangan masyarakat India, where the leaders are no longer academics, the leaders are no longer community leaders, but the leaders are now gang leaders. They have become the leaders because it is their funeral where thousands of them going and supporting, and you can see them dancing, doing all kinds of things. So something is broken in the community. So how then do we bring about a change? Macam mana kita membawa satu perubahan, satu transformasi yang penting dan juga yang perlu. So these were the questions that we were having in mind, and we brought the empat kategori ini here, wanita dan juga pemimpinan NGO dan juga Malaysia, dan juga akademik, dan juga ada beberapa pakar-pakar berkait dengan transformasi, dan kita telah berjumpa di beberapa universiti dan sebagainya. So therefore, as I said, kita sebenarnya mengusulkan lebih kurang 40 solutions, but here what we call the top level, yang harus diberi kepentingan, yang harus diberi keutamaan daripada pihak kerajaan. And the government will debate the resolution plan by end of this year, end of this month, July, and therefore we urge the government to take into consideration some of these arguments that they are making. So we have broken down, and then we have broken this into, as I said, one, education reform. The second one is women and youth development. Ketiga, SME advancement. Keempat, institutional reform, and then number 5, governance. So 5 pillars, 5 big pillars, and then 11 action points. Now the first point to note is that the education involved with the area of education, right? So what are the problems that faces Indian community? Apakah masalah-masalah yang dialami oleh masyarakat India, khususnya berkait dengan isu pendidikan? Satu, high dropout rates. High dropout rates. Now the numbers vary. Some say it's 30%, some say it's 40%, some say it's 50%. This one the government has been confirmed, but what is certain, what is yang tentu yang sudah boleh dikatakan ialah the rates are very, very high. Very, very high. The population is only 6.1%, but when 30% are dropout, then you have a problem. When a big number are in jail, you also have a problem. When big numbers are supporting the underworld, it's also a problem. So therefore, this is the first thing that we have. High dropout rates among Indian D60 students is very high. Number two, curriculum in sekolah and school leadership are not aligned with future job market needs. Not aligned with market needs, and then lack of early childhood education, especially in poor communities. Lack of childhood education, especially in poor communities. So, apakah cadangan yang telah kita kemukakan? Apakah cadangan yang kita kemukakan? Ialah one, mandate preschool education for all children in Malaysia. Mandate preschool education for all children in Malaysia, including vernacular schools, as in Tamil schools, as well as in Chinese schools. And if there's orang asli, that too is supported. That too is supported. So therefore, we are actually calling to mandate, ask the government to mandate preschool education for all children in Malaysia. All school children in Malaysia. Right? Number two, to promote public-private community partnership. Yang kita bawa and to establish a national dropout prevention plan. To develop national dropout prevention plan. This is important because of the high levels of dropout. So, for example, if you look at other examples of other countries, how they intervene, especially among challenged children, among challenged students, and we see what can be done. And we also have examples in Malaysia. Where Malaysian NGOs also provide support in the schools and outside of schools in order to reduce the number of dropouts. So we are asking the government to develop a national dropout prevention plan. And this can be easily done with both government working in the private sector, termasuk juga dengan masyarakat India sendiri, or community development groups. So these are the two ideas that we are putting forward. There are many ideas, but this yang merupakan priority yang kita nak utamakan, yang kita nak letakkan untuk masyarakat luar. Second is women and youth development. Now, in the case of youth development, what are the challenges? Apakah cabaran yang dihadapi oleh masyarakat? Satu, low wages. Most of the Indians in B40 are working, or B60 are working in jobs with low wages, and poor job mobility. Maksudnya mereka tidak dapat go upward mobile. They are stuck because of lack of education, and they are also in sunset industries. And in the informal sector. Informal sector, there is no prevention, there is no minimum wages, and therefore they have problems in the job itself. And also, lack of access to funds to start small businesses, even at home. The Indian women, Indian youth have problems of that. And also Indian women have to go to work, and they have to come back and take care of their families at home. So Indian women are more stressed. So therefore, there must be support for Indian women, especially in these areas, especially of entrepreneurial development, as well as increasing their wages. And then also limited access to upskilling programs, especially because what are the different communities and their interest in that. And the studies show for Malays it's quite high, for Chinese it's very high, and for Indians it's very low. It's very low. That means the take-up or the interest in TVET is not there. And maybe we are not framing the TVET properly, or we are not ensuring that TVET responds to their issues. But the point is, we need to get more Indians into the TVET system, whether we like it or not, and maybe create pathways, bridging programs, for them to go into the become skilled. So what is the recommendation that we are making? One, we are recommending the setting up of 40 people first community labs. People first community labs. What is the notion? What is the underlying notion of people first community labs? This one, and then together with that, the real world readiness internship, and then also a third one is elevator. All of these are linked. Elevator is for women, and the rubble builders is for youth, both men and women. But the elevator is specially designed for women. Now, what is the purpose of setting up the people first community labs? These are labs. These are labs, or these are centers that will be located, one, within the community where Indians come from. One, it will interface government support or government services with local communities. If you go and ask the average Indian today, go to the local council and talk to them and tell them your problem, they will say nobody wants to listen to us. That's the fact. I was a member of parliament for 15 years, so I can tell you that's a fact. They will say we have no faith going and walking into the building because nobody is going to listen to us. That's a fact. So the purpose of the center, one, is to interface the community with the government services. Because the government provides services. Government provides all kinds of support, but the community is not familiar. So therefore, we need to bridge that. And that center can also be used to do training. Can be used for training, whether it's digital, whether it's a tuition raya, or whether it's entrepreneurial training. All of that can be done through that center, including legal support, medical support, and other kinds of family counseling and so on and so forth. So therefore, we are recommending that 40 centers to be set up in the course of the 5 years of the Rancangan Malaysia Tiga-Belas. And I think this is something that we have learned from other countries. Other countries have done it quite successfully. And now the urban centers we have in Malaysia, run by NGOs, have also done a very good job. So therefore, why don't we nationalize it? Why don't we take it up at a higher level? And why don't we get government recognition for such efforts? So I think this is something that we have to do. Essentially what we are doing is we want to create capacity. Because capacity can create opportunities. So what we are trying to do with this system is to actually level the playing field, create equality through equal opportunities. Equal opportunities. When a society is provided capacity, when they go to school, when they have skills, then you create skills, you create opportunities. And equality of opportunity for Indians together with the Chinese, Malays, including us. And if you look at the bottom, the numbers are given, you can look at it in your bio. The third one is SMEs. Now, what are the challenges? Apa cabaran yang dihadapi oleh masyarakat India khususnya ahli-ahli perniagaan? Satu, many Indian SMEs remain in declining of traditional sectors. Lack of access to digital tools and emerging economic sectors. And then Indian equity is low. It is thought to be at 1.3%. It's 1.3%. And limited institutional support for green economy ventures. So we are asking the government to recognize that we want to uplift, we want to transform a relatively poor society, a poor community, then you have to intervene. Okay. That is why we are asking that we need to set up what we call the rebel builders for young, especially for the young. I mean, young people rebel, right, all the time. That's something you will see. Right? That's how the young people like. That's how they should be. That's what I think. They should be. So we call it rebel. Rebel. No, say no, we don't want to do it. So call it rebel, and then rebel builders. So you build. And this is a project. This is something that we looked at in Europe, where the European governments are using the idea of a rebel builder in order to enhance, upscale the Indian youth, including both boys, men and women, young women and young men as well. And also, we need to look at what we call the Malaysian Indian Development and Innovation Fund. Malaysian Indian Development and Innovation Fund. This is very important, and this is actually something that I think the community can support. In other countries, there is such an attempt. Here, if the government accepts it, all that we require is for the Indians in Malaysia to provide a monthly $1 to $30. So it means the Indian community, if I'm a normal average voter, I will only contribute $1 towards the fund. But if I'm a millionaire, I will contribute $30. Nothing for a millionaire. But the whole point is, it is a community-driven fund that can help pay upskilling of Indians and all the different projects that you are talking about. So that fund can take care. And we have done the calculation, and we can tell you in the first 6 months we can raise, if it goes through, we can raise more than 50 million. So therefore, the government, of course, it will be parked under the government, but it is the community-driven fund that takes care of the community itself. So I think this is something that we will do, and we need to push forward new green economic ventures for Indians. One is on water recycling, wastewater recycling, also on other sustainability efforts, and also to move to new areas of the economy. We are all stuck with traditional areas, but we need to move to new areas in order for us to help develop and take advantage of new developments involving digitalization, the digital economy, and so forth. So essentially, this is a call. Not only to the government, but also Malaysian Indians, that they start looking at the green economy as well as the digital economy as the way forward. So this is one of the things that we are really pushing very hard on the government to move forward. Now, we have, a lot of you would say, hey, what about Zitra? Zitra is there, every year they get 100 billion. Now, in all of the discussions that we had, in all of the phone meetings, Zitra suffers a major confidence crisis in the Indian community. People have no faith in the way it is organized. People have no faith in the way it spends money, and nobody can say what is their impact after all these years, 7 to 10 years. What have they done? What we are now saying is restructure Mitra into a statutory agency and with a transparent mandate and a parliamentary oversight. So no politicians touches it. It goes to Parliament, and Parliament will have a debate on the way Mitra funds are organized. Now, the last one is on governance. Now, all of this is important that you keep track of it, and the recommendation that came out of the various discussions is that, we need a system, a computer system or an app that will tell us exactly what the government is doing for the Indian community through a dashboard, a public, transparent dashboard. So this covers all the 5 areas that we have discussed. One, as we said earlier, and then also to develop a centralized Indian development database. Of course, the government has to provide support for that. Now, I must also share with you some of the sentiments that people were communicating to us. Beberapa sentiment yang telah dikemukakan dalam perbincangan yang kita adakan pada perbincangan itu. Satu, almost unanimous, everybody said, will the government do anything? Clear. That's the question that everybody asks. Will the government do anything? That's what people are saying. We have done this before, but look where we are. Look at where we are. So why should we take this seriously? So there is a lot of doubt. There's a lot of doubt, a lot of lack of confidence in whether the government will help to do something about this. I can't answer for the government, but the government has to answer that question. But on the people side, there's a lot of loss of confidence. I think this is something that we cannot deny. So therefore, this plan is to get that confidence back. This plan is to get the confidence back because then you create a crisis of democratic legitimacy. Then you create a crisis of democratic legitimacy. And as I said earlier, some of our young people, especially Indian community involving in gangs, are a threat to national security. So therefore, we need to address all of these issues. Also, if we do not address some of these issues now, and the gang numbers start going up, crime start going up, you will employ more policemen and you will employ more jails. You will build more jails. So why do you do that when you can solve the problem by empowering the young? Empowering the young Indians, women, youths, and others who need the support from the community. So therefore, this is a call for the government not to leave any citizen behind. It's a call by the community to the government not to leave anybody behind. Also a call to strengthen public trust in government. Now the government has to make that decision. People are very, very clear. What can we do? I mean, I'm sure everybody here, some of friends or leaders who are here, say, what can we do with this? Right? But I think this is where the government can answer the question. And I think we expect some positive response from government on these lines. So this it's not a hockey-dory. It was a very difficult process. Bringing 200 people together, discussing it and coming up with a 40 solution plan, and then highlighting some urgent ones that needs to be done and done urgently. I think this is quite important. So I'm going to check my phone whether it's good is okay. But if any questions, we can try to answer them.
If you look at all of the proposals, mainly we are trying to reset the community ahead of the challenges in the economy itself. So we got to play the role, okay, in the community, and that's why we have taken care of all 5 areas, okay, that we think that is very important for the community. Especially my area is to the third pillar, that is essentially a management. Actually, we are working from 2015, trying to establish a fund for the Indians, so that the Indian community, the phrase, kita jaga kita. Okay, this is very important. We should not be depending on the government. You see, because we depend too much on the government, any shortfalls in Mitra, the whole community agitated, very angry about it. So we think that we need to take care of ourselves. So we need this fund, this monthly contribution of ringgit minimum. That could be, most of us can contribute 10 ringgit, and to a maximum of 30 ringgit, will generate some meaningful fund to sort of like to reset the community, okay, to self-sufficient community, in the future, okay, and through that, whatever we have plans, okay, that we will have some kind of fund management. At the moment is we have started a few initiatives by my NGO, but the thing is that each time we approach, the trust level among the community is very low. nobody trusts anybody who can come forward and say, we want to do something for the community, or we want to launch a fund. Now, since those days, since about 10 years ago, you know what I'm talking about, failed. If that one didn't fail, it was managed properly, we don't have to beg for funding, you know, now. That's very important. So we have to realize, very important thing is, we have to raise some funds for ourselves. Look at the Singapore model, SINDA. They are very good, you know, in taking care of themselves. So whatever funds raised will be channeled into the market, stock market or forex, money market and all that. Okay, we will sort of like we generate some funds for the community through the dividends and all that. And also, it's not only to raise dividends through investment and all that. If you invest in a company, say some big companies like Maybank, if we invest, we have a sizable investment in Maybank, okay, then we can request for directorship from the Indian community. At the moment, most of the people, I come from the stockbroking environment. Each time when I want to propose something to the management, cynical, very cynical about it. What have you got, what kind of investment you all got in the market, you know, in the investment, you know, in the Bursa Malaysia and all that. So I think this is not workable, that kind of thing. So when people come and tell you, hey, you are very small and you have no power and all that, it is very disheartening. Thank you.
Retired teacher after serving 34 years in education. It is a very good idea. It's time to reenact this. We have to reenact this. It's not Mr. Mano telling about self-raising. Just to get one point of view. When the self-raised fund comes, it also need to be supported by the government, like something. That is the point again. Okay, I just want to touch one pillar one, education reform. Okay, of course, very clearly stated that preschool education must be made compulsory. I totally agree. Because today when you go to standard one, they assume that you have gone through a preschool education. See, the child goes through a preschool education, is well prepared, and from the takeoff value will be actually higher than other kids. Very important. Second is digital. Okay, now we are talking about DASAR, digital and scholar. And then the minister also has said that under the Tonga control of the Plant Pembangunan Pendidikan about digital, the current minister said under the agenda Pujo about digital. But what is happening in the school? Is the digital education taking place properly? I will say no. Especially primary schools, lack of facilities. They got no ICT lab, no computer facilities, and then you expect them to learn computers. For your information, they got an element called ICT Madantasi curriculum. You know how to learn computers? Using book and learning computers. If that's the way to learn computers, they will learn little bit in BM, little bit in English and science, but using the textbook. But what we want is facilities should be created, computer labs should be created, and digital education should be given, which is very fair, not only in grammar school, every kids should be receiving that. The last one I want to say is, especially medical school students, when they leave the primary school, they must be they must be well versed in the language, especially Bahasa Melayu and Bahasa Inggeris. So the government must spend money or invest into the intervention program, how to upgrade the level of language proficiency. These are a few things I just want to highlight.
Yeah. Good morning.
also like to touch on the first pillar, which is the foundation of all this. We are looking at the dropout rates. I would say we should go one step backward and look at the absenteeism rates in school. Absenteeism rates is very high. Some children only go to school once a month. So I think we should really look into why these children don't go to school. There should be some sort of a study, and there should be a monitoring system, because absenteeism is the one that leads to dropouts. So I think maybe the government also should, the Ministry of Education should really look into all these, school attendance rates. Because there is a monthly calculation to see the attendance rates in school. So some schools, I think the attendance rates is about 85%, which is not good. Okay. So we should look into this absenteeism rates to prevent dropout. Because when they don't come to school regularly, they are not able to follow the lessons, and eventually they are backward, and finally they think it's not interesting and they drop out. So we should take a study. Thank you.
I want to give you overall comment about what was mentioned earlier. First and foremost, I think what we proposed here is very, very inclusive. Maybe probably that's one of the keywords that I want to highlight. Being in a Monash Australia system where I see policies from another country and we have been very much integrated and working towards things like that. So I also want to bring that particular perspective over here. Maybe the first thing we need to look at is when we are proposing things like this, maybe we should not just look at this as an Indian issue. This is a national issue. And where we are today is a result of the systemic discrimination and isolation that the community have gone through at various levels, from the ground to the top. So all of us have similar stories to share, and we have always felt isolated in many circumstances. So we want that mindset shift to take place, that we are not out of the system, but we are part of the system. So when we propose things like this, we really want to urge the government to take the responsibility for what has happened in the past, because this is not just a community issue, something has followed somewhere along the way. But we need to acknowledge rather than being in denial, and also sense the urgency of the situation before it becomes something so much bigger, because it's not just an Indian issue, Malaysian Indian issue, but this is a national issue. And if we have that kind of mindset, I think most of the things that we are talking about will eventually become a reality. And the funding is so essential. We are very, very much ready to do what we can do within our capacity. I believe the community have enough talents, skills, intelligence, and also the capacity to do this. However, we need support from something above, something that sees us holistically, something bigger than that, because there are things that we cannot really do. We need the authorities and different various sectors to support us. So I just want to urge that it is extremely important not to see this as Indian issue. So let's go with a very inclusive approach with what we propose, and that's my request to the government.
Thank you very much. If you look at the document, there's one part that was not here, but the dissent was government. The most important thing that we have to do now is to increase awareness. First of all, raise challenges over the increase in wages, which means that a lot of these issues can be resolved at a very basic level. I just want to make 3 points, and then I want to read the speech. One, essentially, design here is to empower. Empower a community that is very challenged. Empower a community that is very challenged. And not create what we call equality of opportunity with the rest. Because we are really behind. So we need to catch up. So we need to empower. And also to bring the thought that this is actually something, a Malaysian problem. It is a Malaysian problem that we've been facing for a long time. And therefore, in order to solve this problem, we need to take a Malaysian approach. And I think our Prime Minister, with Madani ideology, will be able to accommodate some of these ideas. And in fact, what we will do, we will try to arrange a meeting with him to to impress upon him again that these are issues that we have brought forward, and this consultation has involved a whole lot of people, about 200 people, and also about 15 national organizations, 15 national international organizations all over the country. And I think that meeting the Prime Minister, we want to impress on the need for urgency, before the situation gets worse. We really have to shift. We have to shift in worshipping heroes. Our heroes need to be changed. Our heroes are the wrong direction right now. Our heroes are leaders, but we need to change it to responsible citizens, and therefore we need to take an inclusive process, inclusive approach to all problems. Louisa just texted me that she's in the midst of a discussion with someone, but she has sent me a speech which I'm going to read it for you. It just bears with me for the next 5 minutes. And I'm going to read it here. It's easy to speech. Louisa, empowering implementation in the community. This is from Rachel. I'm going to read her speech. It's not coming from me, but I'm going to read it. Salam Malaysia, and thank you for joining me today because you're supposed to be here. Some have said I've been too quiet on many issues, that I should speak more often and more publicly like I used to. But silence is not the same as inaction. For the longest time, I've chosen to work quietly because I believe in substance before spectacle. What matters most is not how loudly we speak, but whether our work brings change to those who need it most. Today, I feel compelled to share salient information about empowering the ethnic Indian community in Malaysia. As an avid advocate, because I need your support, regardless of who are the sponsors and owners of their respective media companies, to see this effort through. Over the past year, I have privileged to work alongside a dedicated team of Malaysians, among them Sudara Shah and former MP Charles Santiago, to convene a series of expert-led roundtables. These were not ceremonial or shop-scenery gatherings. They brought together economists, fund managers, senior civil servants, NGO leaders, and community representatives to do one thing: to build real, measurable, transformative solutions for the Malaysian Indian community. This was our fourth roundtable, and it's only the beginning. In these sessions, we built upon findings from the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Sustainable Development Goals. The community mapping, both across 85 parliamentary constituencies from 2020 to 2030, laid bare that many of us already know in our hearts, that the Indian Malaysian community, particularly those from B40 and urban poor households, continue to face persistent challenges. These include school dropouts, intergenerational poverty, statelessness, low-income jobs, and even violence in the home. Let me share a story that stays with me. In 2008, as a young MP, I visited Akamam SRJK, I met a little aspiring boy who was drawing what he called his future, a self-portrait in a safety vest next to a building. I asked him what he was drawing. I want to be an engineer. My teacher told me what engineers do. He then stopped smiling suddenly and glanced at his father. But Appa, his father, said, I have to go to work with him when I finish school. He said, no money to make me an engineer. You work to feed your family. That was not just a boy with a pencil and a smile. That was an inspiring Malaysian with dreams caught between Nambike, hope, and reality. I carry his voice with me to this day. I cannot forget his smile and the loss of it. I've always wondered where he is and what he is doing now. And I want to put an end to mere wondering. I need to see it through when he and others like him graduate successfully and pursue what they truly want. That is why we welcome the newly proposed comprehensive Indian Community Development Framework, preparing through Yayasan Intizam in partnership with 200 professionals and civil society representatives. We now have a plan in conjunction with our RK 13, and we must deliver on it. 4 core areas have emerged as the cornerstone of this effort. First, we will introduce mandatory preschool education for all children aged 4 to 6, including international schools by 2027. This will be supported by Plan Indo Praskola Mampa, ensuring that no child is left behind regardless of socioeconomic background. This is the foundation to close the learning gap before it widens. Second, we will establish People's First Community Labs, skills and empowerment hubs across the country, offering technical, vocational, and entrepreneurial training. These will especially serve Indian youth and women and act as crucial bridges between government initiatives and grassroots communities. Third, we will launch Elevate Her and Rebel Builders, a combined incubator platform for Indian women and youth. Through this platform, participants will receive mentorship, structured training, seed capital, and access to infrastructures to build leadership and business skills. We want to build a pipeline of Indian leaders and entrepreneurs who can create jobs, not just seek them. Fourth, we will restructure and elevate existing Indian community development efforts into a statutory, transparent, and inclusive institution. This agency must have clear mandates and oversight from the government, civil society, and the private sector, with regular reporting and accountability. We must end the era of fragmented aid and move toward sustainable, integrated delivery. These are not vague promises. They are action plans grounded in data and built by the very community we seek power. In Ramatang Pao, we started Pinang Pinta to give free UPSR and SPM classes to students. I still remember one CP Form 5 student who came to class at 7 a.m. every morning, despite walking 3 kilometers from a rented flat. He did not complain. He carried a borrowed school bag and bright dream. He deserved better, and so do thousands more like him. I've seen single mothers juggling 3 jobs while caring for elderly parents. I have seen young Indian graduates denied opportunities simply because of how their names sounded. We must end this quiet exclusion, because these are not just Indian issues, these are national issues. This is not about identity politics, this is about justice. It's about building a Malaysia that leaves no one behind. Let me be clear, this is not about chasing undecided votes. This is about staying faithful to our values. Let us first honor our ideological base, the people who trusted us, who waited for us, who still believe we can do better. I believe we can, I believe we must, and I believe the time is now. Thank you. Thank you. This is a speech that was sent to me now by Rizal. Would have delivered it if she was here. But I think she communicates the sentiment that we have here. One, the issues that we presented are Malaysian issues. And therefore, the spirit of inclusiveness, which is part of the Rangka Anjingan Malaysia class, inclusivity is part of it. It should be incorporated as part of national plan and seen as an issue that has to be resolved. But it also must be pointed out that the Indian community is way behind, just like the Orange. So therefore, there is a need for extra push, there's a need for extra commitment, and there's a need for extra commitment on the part of them to provide the resources, to provide the political support, and also to agree that this thing can become part of the China and Malaysia activities. Right? I will stop here. If you have any questions. Let's get the media. Let's get the media first. Question for the media? Okay. Any other? Yes.
You mentioned that you already submitted the proposal to the government. When will we know if it has gone through?
To answer the question directly, our work is actually to make the proposal and send it to them. But they have a process in place within the ministry that will look at all of these recommendations and policy descriptions and so on, so including the KPIs. So now it is in the hands of government for them to bring it into the Ranchanga Malaysia Future Plus overall plan. Remember, the Ranchanga Malaysia Future Plus is a 5-year plan, and it will be rolled up over 5 years. So every budget will carry a big of the plan in realizing the entire framework of the Ranchanga Malaysia Future Plus.
How long are you giving them to respond? A month, 2?
The response will come at the presentation of the Prime Minister in Parliament. And I'm sure they're working quite late at night and so on. But I think we need to keep the faith. We need to keep the faith. We need to do a civil rights pressure, talk to government, talk to different people, and bring it to the attention of the highest person in discussion with the Prime Minister. So as I said earlier, we will try to seek an appointment with him to impress upon him on the urgency of the problem that we have now. And I think he understands the urgency, but it's nothing like me communicating the idea and talking to him and impressing upon him. Things can't be, that everybody has to be protected and nobody should be left behind. Any other?
Sorry, so you're saying there's a possible response in Parliament when it convenes?
Well, I think that's one way of looking at it. But when you meet the Prime Minister also can make a commitment. He can say, yes, I looked at the plan, I think it's a global plan, and therefore we will incorporate it. He can also say that, but I'm not the Prime Minister. Although I wish, but that's not.
When is the meeting with the Prime Minister?
No, we have to secure it.
Oh, below now. Okay.
They have already returned.
Waiting for a reply to set a meeting date.
Can we get an exact date where you submitted the proposal?
Last? Yeah, when? We finished our last consultation about 2-3 weeks ago, and after that we have put it all together. So I think it was sent to the KSU. That's what I will do. Sending it to 23rd.
KSU of Economy.
Economist. That was me, We already met him earlier. A month or 2 months before that, to explain to him what we were doing in terms of the different consultations, processes, and so on. And then finally, when we concluded it, now he said, okay, we're going to send it to you. And he said, yes, thank you very much, I already received it. So it means on our part, we have already done the recommendation. But when you do public space, public policy, your reporting should also be very helpful. Your reporting also be very helpful to communicate not only to the government but also to the community that there is hope, and that we need to keep hope alive. We have to keep it alive, and that we have a problem that we have to address. It is an urgent problem. Okay. Sure. Soon. Any other questions, especially for the non-Tamil, Tamil, we get a quick presentation. Anything else? Mr. Orlando? You had something to say?
No, I just want to honestly compliment this whole idea. While we follow the politics of this country, I have been talking to a number of people, and one of the things that struck me today, and has been at the back of my mind, is the fact that what the people have proposed today is that the community must come together. The most the government can do is agree on funding. But the whole process of managing this, monitoring this, and above all, the accountability, the success of this has to be left to individuals who are going to manage this. The government, in my honest opinion, maybe, the most they can give you the funds, the most they can give you facilities. But who takes responsibility for its success?
Who drives it?
Who drives it? There has to be a driver totally responsible to monitor these 5 pillars and a proper reporting system so that you set your goals
But then the water system is part of the governance mechanism we have proposed.
Yeah, I thought
It
that
has
governance
not been done
mechanism-
before, so this is a new idea.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, honestly, and I really hope after all what we have been through, because today the general feeling among the Indian community is they are a bit lost. Politically they are lost. There is no clear leadership, let's be honest about it. And unless the community comes together to tackle its own problem, it's a fact. While we are all Malaysians and we consider it a Malaysian problem, we have to take ownership for our problem. I have to take ownership for my problem. So I think this is really something which I really hope will go through and be successful. Thank you.
Maybe take a group photo, maybe everybody can come to front.
Mr. Nader was something to say. Mr. Nader.
Hi, good evening. Good afternoon. I think just now, Michael Charles, firstly, let me congratulate this team for coming out with this plan. But to be brutal and honest, yet another plan. We had a couple of plans before this. To see how successful this plan can be, I think it's only fair, within the press before this, that the government should revisit our plan 11 and see how successful those plans has been, especially for those things that was meant for Indians. And if there was failure, I think it's incumbent among the people who devised those plans to figure out why were there failures and to find means to see how it can be improved so that the rollout is much better. Like the gentleman said earlier, implementation is the biggest challenge in policy plan. It has to be studied. So please go back and study Plan 11, RFK 11, RFK 12, find out why were they lacking, why were they failure. Because most of the things that are stated here is not new. It is same old. But we may have moved forward in some way, but we may not have moved forward in the way that we want. It's important for that to study. My next statement is in regards to pillar number 4, institutional reform. Specifically it mentions Mitra. And I think here also there is a big gap in terms of implementation. You see, today, if you are not well, you go to the hospital, you see specialists in medical field. If you want a house to be repaired, you go to see a contractor or an engineer so that they can give you their expertise in doing what you need to do. The question is Mitra equipped with people with these special skills to deal with Indian transformation? If you ask me, the answer is no. We have an agency, we have people. But the people there, though they may be qualified in different areas, to me they are not qualified in the area that is needed, that is transforming the community. So my request to the government is that reform Mitra, find the people who are truly interested in the community issues, people who have the expertise, the skill, and the passion, right? Not political, to transform the community. So this is just my solution.
Thanks. Just to give a recap here. This is the recommendation, the 4 different proposals, the one that we have here in front of you, was the outcome of the discussion over 3-4 months. Going into different sessions, human group, suffering leaders, and finally one to agree on management. So it comes from the bottom up. It's coming from people. It's coming from people who are affected. And we have used also other consultants as a way to come up with what we call an easily trackable, understandable plan of action. So that's one. Number 2, I would like to thank everybody who was involved in the process. And also like to pay special thanks to Rinda, who have been following up on the discussions. And actually quite came for one of the discussions that we had, and face-to-face discussion as well. So I think I want to put the resolution on record as well. But at the end of the day, we need the government to move. The government has to see this as a nation problem, and especially given that our youth, especially people below 30, are going in the wrong direction. It has to be done, a U-turn has to be done. Gang leaders cannot be heroes. This must be made very clear. But they will come. And therefore, this has to change. This has to change. And for that to happen, you have to intervene in the school, you have to support the school system, you have to support early child education, and you have to bring in the system. Whatever that we do, we have to do to help empower the community so that community doesn't have to face inequality, doesn't have to face poverty, and can say we are from this country and we move together as part of the country so that there is an equal opportunity for everyone. Equal opportunity for everyone. That's the claim. That's what we want to do in the next. That's the plan. That's what the plan is about. So as I said, we will try to meet the Prime Minister, press upon him that he has to do something about this, and we take it from there. We want to be hopeful. It's always very nice to throw things and say all this doesn't work, all these are great plans. Yes, it is true, but at the same time, we can't stop there. We need to keep moving. We need to keep engaging. We need to keep compressed, and we need to move forward. And the people who have contributed to this are people who have started the process many years, 20, 30 years. So every inch counts, every centimeter of growth counts. And therefore, it is with that humility to present to you this document, so that this document can become a national document, a document that the community can appreciate and also support it, as well as the government will also accept it. Right? On that note, thank you very much. We can speak in Tamil very quickly, but I think they're going to serve lunch at the same time. So for those of us who are non-Tamils, please start your lunch. I know it's almost 2 o'clock. But for those who are non-speaking, we can discuss this.
Thank you, friends. Okay, Tamil people can continue the Tamil language.
Before the media goes on.
Final
Before the media goes on.
and your friends, please. Setting the guys. Make it fast.
எடுத்துட்டு வெளியே வாங்க. எடுத்துட்டு வெளியே வாங்க. என்னுடைய எடுத்து வெளியே வாங்க. எனக்கு
Sorry.